Sean, when you have an administration that puts out what this guy puts out and says what he says, it makes people angry. It does. What do you mean, no?
You're angry. He was praised
Be angry.
for finally
Hold on.
having some ball.
Please like, subscribe, and share. On his show, MAGA's Sean Spicer has been complaining nonstop about political rhetoric lately, claiming the left has been especially harsh toward the right. That's what Chris Cuomo challenged him on, with Geraldo Rivera also in the mix. It's a pretty entertaining exchange, and I've got some thoughts to add, so let's dive in together.
Man, you should see how my phone is lighting up. How can you say the president said the right thing? You don't think it was the right thing to say, you know, we were all in there, there was a lot of unity, people came together, it didn't matter about party? That's exactly the right message. The problem is it's not his only message, right? Today, we saw what we see most often, which is his White House press secretary, who's very good at the job, but that's not necessarily a compliment, saying this.
Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month said, we are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time. Governor Josh Shapiro said heads need to roll. Monica McIver, a Democrat representative on Capitol Hill, we will not take this shit from Donald Trump. He thinks he's a dictator. We are at war. These are Democrat elected officials calling for war against the president of the United States and his supporters. I could go on and on, but again, when you have people in positions of power that are saying things like this every single day for years, you are inspiring violence by people who are already mentally ill.
But you're not one of them. I mean, look, to me, the irony is just disgusting here, but that's what gets rewarded. There is no shame in this game. So let's discuss where this leaves us. NewsNation correspondent at large, Mr. Geraldo Rivera, former White House press secretary in the first Trump administration, Mr. Sean Spicer. Good to have you both. Oh, Sean's got a new book out, by the way, called Trump 2.0. Sean, Geraldo, good to have you. Geraldo goes first because he's sitting next to me, Sean. You know, you got the proximity advantage. It's good.
If I would have come to New York, if I knew that.
Oh, it would have been a fun party.
Come on, I'll have you one on each side. And be like, So, Geraldo, I was hopeful that, thank God, nobody got hurt here, and that maybe having all these bold-faced names in one place with the could have been me would change. We got to do something different. This is no good. Nothing like that came out of it.
You know, I feel so badly that you're so hurt by it because I care for you as my friend and mentee over the years. And, you know, I think that you've done a great job. But I think that sometimes idealism gets pushed aside, as it should, in favor of pragmatism. For example, Rand Paul, notoriously stingy in terms of spending public money. He just voted in terms of the White House ballroom in favor of it. It's an 8-to-1 vote. Now, why not get together on something practical like that? You know you hate each other. You know that ideologically speaking, you'll never the twain shall meet. You know that you think you're morally superior. Not you. I mean, in the.
I know I'm morally inferior. That's why I try to keep it amoral.
I think that it'd be better just to be pragmatic about it. Be pragmatic idealists. You want something to happen, make it happen.
But you're right. You're right. But pragmatically, Sean, you wind up right where you are. You know, we all know about what DJT 100 was supposed to be about, right? It was this ambition of, let me see how many people on both sides I can get to like what I'm about in this administration. But this works better. This dividing works better, and it's easier. And that's what gets rewarded within the parties and online by the algorithms. Why would you try anything else?
Yeah, respectfully, as a friend and a mentee as well, I disagree. It's not just reward, it's factual. I mean, look, I don't like to use events like this to score points, and I get maybe in that way we agree. But the reality is that Caroline was absolutely right. I mean, look, these guys are the first ones to point fingers. For Barack Obama, the president of the United States, to put out a tweet and say, we have no idea what the political leanings of this person are, his motivations, is patently false. The guy wrote a manifesto that was very clear about what his motivations were and what his intent was. So when we get gaslit, and Chris, I know that you and your family have been involved in politics, so I'm sure this might resonate with you as well, but I've dealt with that vitriol. I've had people come to my house. I've had people make threats. Too. And so, I know, that's why I'm saying I think you identify with this as well. But Geraldo's the only one that people just love. So maybe he doesn't get this the same way. But look, here's the thing.
I've been around for 100 years.
I think that you can say what you will about the president's rhetoric, right? And there's things that he said that I don't fully agree with or how he expresses himself. Got it. But at the end of the day, Caroline was right. When you tell someone that they are a threat to democracy, a threat to this country, a threat over and over again, what do you think is going to happen? People are finally going to say, well, if that's a threat, I need to get rid of the threat.
You're right about half of it. And I'll say it this way, and I'll put it to Geraldo.
That's better than I did in high school, Chris.
But hold on. If you switch the R and the D, and this was Joe Biden who says the things that Donald Trump says on a regular basis about you, about me, about immigrants, about any group, put it in. they would go crazy. Sean's head would explode. But he's very mild because it's about Trump. Levitt is right about half of it, not all of it. And that's why nothing changes.
I
But
feel
here's the
badly
point.
that you're...
Look, can I just ask this? Can you guys just agree, though, there's a difference between mocking somebody and saying that they're a horrible person and whatever, and telling someone that they should be eliminated? Like, there's a difference to me.
Wait a second.
Nobody's saying he should be eliminated.
You saw the two sides to Donald Trump on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday night, when he came back after the traumatic event, he was magnanimous. He was inclusive. He was wonderful. And I said, wow, this may be something that will cause a new President Trump. And then the next day with Norah O'Donnell, he practically called her a slut and, a disgrace and a horrible person and this and that. I mean, things that you would never think.
This from Sean Spicer is just wild. He actually used the term gaslighting to accuse the left, Democrats, progressives, whoever, of misleading people. But the level of gaslighting we've seen over the past decade, especially with Donald Trump and his defenders like Spicer, is on another level. They keep twisting themselves into knots trying to defend someone who's clearly indefensible. They act like Trump is completely innocent, like he's never said anything extreme or inflammatory. Meanwhile, he's used language about people being vermin, called others the enemy of the people, and pushed bizarre claims like people eating cats and dogs. It's hard to believe Spicer even buys what he's saying. Pretending the left is uniquely violent while ignoring all of that, it just doesn't add up.
Life to call anyone. But knowing him as long as I know him, hold it a second. Knowing him as long as I've known him, I reconcile myself. That's who he is. He's mercurial. He's thin-skinned. He's entitled and aggrieved. And those are things that he is.
Imagine what your wife would say if you had talked like that in an interview.
Oh my God, she wouldn't.
Man,
but there's a difference.
She would give me the cold shoulder to beat the bear.
All right, go ahead. Time in. What do you got?
I'm just saying, like, look, I think that calling somebody a jerk or disgusting or whatever, okay, yes, I don't generally speak like that, but that's a very different thing than saying someone is a threat to the country and a threat to democracy.
He calls
I want to get rid of
a threat to the country and democracy.
He throws around labels like Marxists and communists as insults for Democrats and people on the left. Then there's that infamous line about Mexico not sending their best. And it only gets worse from there. He's talked about wanting to punch a heckler, praised waterboarding, and even suggested going further, and even mocked Nancy Pelosi's husband after that brutal hammer attack.
Have enough time to list it, and you know this, and you're right. People speak about him in a way.
It's funny, Chris, because all the assassination attempts seem to go in one direction.
He's in power.
Right? It's Charlie Kirk, it's Donald Trump 3 times, it's Steve Scalise.
He's
I'm
in
just
power.
Saying, you notice that every one of these people in the Trump administration needs a security detail, staff. No other press secretary in history, except for those who served Donald Trump, needed a Secret Service detail.
Sean.
We've also never had an administration that its members were so in our faces as these people are. Previous administrations, people didn't know who all of the members of the administration were. They weren't this visible. They weren't out there acting like Donald Trump, saying nasty things and sometimes violent things.
Do you believe that the animus directed towards this administration has nothing to do with what the administration directs towards the people?
I don't know that there's an equivalence. Sometimes the language is inflammatory. But there's a difference when the Democrats in power tell you that there's a threat and they must be eliminated.
But where did it come from, Sean?
Why don't you compromise, Chris, and say you're for the ballroom? The guy should have a Purple Heart. He's been the victim of assassination attempts 3 times. The ballroom makes sense pragmatically.
I don't care.
Suggests that he's
I don't care about
he's right.
The
Maybe he's right about that.
The idea that we're talking about.
If you don't care about it, why don't you say you're for it? Or you're okay with it?
I'm okay with it. I don't care about the ballroom. You know, people aren't looking for me what I'm okay with, what I'm not. What I'm not okay with matters more, which is we're going to talk about whether a ballroom is the solution. Not that you have another mentally ill person who is able to get access to a weapon and get inside and try to commit a mass act of violence. But we won't discuss any of that. But a ballroom is the fix.
Caltech. I mean, this guy it's an intriguing story. I'll admit that. It's a
mentally ill.
How did a guy go from being an honor engineer?
He has a mental illness.
To this kind of breakdown.
But you don't. But stupid and sick do not, can be reconciled.
People have their own demons. You know, it's hard to reconcile that any one stimulus is why. What's the catalyst? Why did this person become a crazy person? You talked about
wait, they were
massacre of the children up in Connecticut.
Yeah, but hold on, Sean. You want to say we know from the manifesto why he did it, and you're right. But since when do we start reading these manifestos from someone who's obviously deranged as proof of premise?
But the question, Chris, here's my point,
That's
though.
a good
It's
point.
why. When he is told over and over again why, when the Democratic Party tells people that violence is okay, when the CEO of United Health can be killed
Sean,
in cold
I'm
blood,
with you.
and they
It's
set up a
all
defense
wrong.
fund for
They all
Luigi
do it.
Mangione.
Sean, it's all wrong. But
No.
Sean, when
Didn't
you
Gavin Newsom do it?
Sean, when you have an administration that puts out what this guy puts out and says what he says, it makes people angry. It does. What do you
no.
mean, no?
Gavin
You're
Newsom
angry,
admitted he was
fine.
praised
Be
for
angry.
finally
Hold on.
having some balls.
Be angry, be pissed off, but violence is never acceptable, ever, full stop. And there's no equivocating. There's no, they might be angry.
I agree.
No, never, never,
Yeah,
never.
I know, Sean, but it's the problem is you guys only say
Preaching
that.
to the choir.
You only say that when it's about the other
No.
side being the problem, never when
No.
it's you as the problem.
No. Do you know what? Here's the deal. I've said this for every circumstance. Violence is never, ever the answer. Okay. You think about this. How many people on the left set up a defense fund for Luigi Mangione that hit 7 figures? Because why did no one say anything during the BLM riots and destruction? Because violence is always going to be acceptable to folks on the left if it's in pursuit of a greater good. They do nothing to call it out.
What
right?
about Stephen
Chuck
Miller
Schumer
in that
said,
language
we're
and that
coming to get you,
incendiary
Kavanaugh.
language?
I mean, we have heard more ugly things out of this administration, but you make the right point, which is the one that I practice.
Ugly
right?
is different
You
than
and
threats. Ugly is different.
Look, he started the chance of lock her up, and he says, "Come on, it's not even a close call." But what I'm saying
Lock
is
her
this:
up is not killing.
I'm fine with saying there should be no violence. Yeah, I know. So stop inspiring it. That's the point. What I'm saying
my
is, you
God.
and I disagree. You and I disagree, right? But I would
Yes.
never threaten you personally. I would never say what
Thank
we
you.
hear all the time here, that, hey, Sean, I gotten tired of you cutting me off and wiping your face. When I see you, I'm going to untwist your head like a bottle cap. I don't do that. Why? I would never want anybody
I've
to
heard
think,
you a couple of times.
but very rare, and I get upset at
I was
myself
going to
for
say,
doing
Chris,
that.
maybe you have.
I know. I look, I know
By
it's
Trump
the wrong thing
2.0.
to do. I know it's the wrong thing to do. And I don't think there are enough people in power who feel that way. That's my point. Trump 2.0 is Sean Spicer's new book. You're always welcome here to make the case. I wish you nothing but good things.
Thank you.
We can
I'll never
disagree,
hurt you.
not disagreeable. You could never hurt me. Geraldo,
Brother.
I know.
you could hurt me, but I love you. Take care. 4 minutes.
Chris Cuomo really got it right here. I don't always agree with him, and I know plenty of people don't, but in this case, his take was solid. He didn't fall into the usual both sides are equally bad argument. Instead, he was clear that a lot of responsibility lies with the Trump administration and its rhetoric, which we haven't seen at this level before. Sean Spicer tried to bring up Barack Obama, but the comparison just doesn't hold. Obama carried himself like a statesman, while Trump's style and behavior are completely different. It's obvious to anyone paying attention that Trump, and many on the right, regularly use aggressive, inflammatory language. So when Spicer denies that, it comes off as either dishonest or completely out of touch. What's especially striking is the contradiction. Some on the right paint Democrats as weak and ineffective, yet at the same time describe them as dangerous and violent extremists. It doesn't have to make sense, and often it doesn't. Cuomo was clearly frustrated trying to point out that inconsistency, but Spicer wouldn't acknowledge it. At this point, it feels like more of the same is ahead. But I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree with Cuomo's take, or do you see it differently? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.